Sasa wewe unadai ni kwa mangapi hapa?
Mimi nafaa kuuliza unadai mangapi?
Ukiingia hapa kwa hii gate, huko umeona pale pameandikwa na chokora salau.
Ai, serious ya witi. Kama walikuwa wameandika hivyo, na wewe ulikupaliwa acha hapa ndani.
Hizi Jacob, unajua nikirotari kwa baba wawili.
What about Crotas? Na Crotas je?
Nimekukanya kumuita mbebu. Katafuta machokora wenzako huko waite mbebu. Crotas. Tisaka kameenda tunaweza ongea.
Do I know you? Ndabishana na ile siku tawaga. Afadhali mimi nafaa kuoga mwili peke yake na niko sawa. Wewe unafaa kuoga mwili na akili na bado utafute pesa.
Nikishika chakula yangu mnanawa mkono kwanza. Ama kuna place kunauzwa gloves hapa karibu?
Pia tujui sana, lakini nimesikia hapa chini kuna mahali panauzwa common sense.
How are you doing this morning? You're watching the new and improved AM Live. This is AM Live Extra. My name is Olive Barrows. Now, Dibal Ainia gave you a glimpse into the news diary. I will be going into more detail. Him and his guests looked back at the events that are shaped. I'll start with you, Kevin Mutai. What do we have to look forward to?
Well, good morning, Olive, and we are joining the broadcast from Mamangina Drive. This is a recreational facility constructed by the government, and by the way, it is at this particular place and position that we are expecting the BBI brigade to come over the weekend on a sensitization campaign over the document, and here we are expecting the coastal leaders to draw the line concerning this particular document and give their statement on the issues that they want the report to have on behalf of the people of the coastal region. But at least all the 6 governors across the region are in support, in full support of the document, but have varying opinions on what the BBI report should entail. And to begin in Kwale County, for instance, Governor Salim Mvurya is of the opinion that the BBI report has not addressed adequately issues such as historical injustices on matters to do with land, calling on those people in charge of the document to factor in all those particular concerns before its implementation. And of course, Governor Hassan Joho of Mombasa also calling for the leaders to unite ahead of this particular campaign over the weekend. And of course, Joho asking all the coastal leaders to be one and have an agenda towards the implementation of this document, and categorically stating that if any coastal leader will not be on the table. I mean, remember that this idea of BBI, some have the opinion that there will be certain powerful political positions, and Governor Joho saying that, and if I can quote him in Swahili, kama kiongozi yeyote kutoka eneo la pwani hatokuweko kwa meza, basi hakuna mahali ripoti ya BBI inakoenda. And I believe Joho meant that if at all a key, or rather a politician from the coast region will not be given a position on the BBI report, then of course they will not be in terms of, will allow the entire issue of the report to be implemented without their concerns being factored in the report. Of course, we've also had Governor Kingi from Kilifi saying, calling for the leaders from the region fast to change, because he said, and I can quote him in Swahili, saying that hii itakuwa msitu tofauti lakini nyani wasikwe wale wala. And I believe Kingi said that this is a different system now, but calling on the leaders to change the tactics, and of course up their game when it comes to matters leadership, and of course show the people of the coast region and have an agenda that will have to include all the coast people when it comes to the report. We've also had other sentiments from the area leaders, including members of parliament, especially in Msambweni, Suleiman Ndori, having an issue with this particular process, the entire process, accusing the political force of advancing their own agendas, using the BBI report, seizing this opportunity to advance their agendas. But of course, again, others saying that They've not had a chance to read the document and, of course, sticking to the directive that they put all that inside there for the people. But, of course, also, Olive, another thing that we're keenly following from the region is the issue of terrorism. Remember, in Lamu, reports of attempted Al-Shabaab attack after 50 of heavily up in that particular region, with authorities appealing to members of the public to report any suspicious characters who might be suspected to be members of the terror group. Remember, this comes a few days after the president waged a new war on terrorism, calling for security agents to crack the whip on sympathizers and, of course, financiers of the Al-Shabaab militants. And, of course, another key issue, Olive, that is coming up this week is the issue of drug trafficking. We're expecting a foreign national to be arraigned here in Mombasa on suspicion of trafficking heroin. And, of course, all those issues are the things that will definitely dominate our diary here in Mombasa, and we will be having all that covered for you here from Mombasa. Olive.
Kevin, is that the Mamangina Drive?
Well, of course, yes, indeed. This is Mamangina Drive, and this, as I said, is where we're expecting the BBI rally to happen on Saturday. It is a recreational facility constructed by the government. We informed that the government spent to a tune of over 450 million shillings for this facility, where we're expecting different activities to happen. Even we have traders along the facility who will also be selling their wares, and of course also people coming from all over the country to enjoy the ocean view, and among other things that we are expecting them once this particular facility is fully complete and operational. Those are some of the things that perhaps people will be coming to enjoy. But again, remember, this Saturday we are waiting. It's a wait and see game of Olive.
All right, thank you, Kevin. And please let Karim know that Hiyo Picha Nisafi is scheduled to take place at the Mamangina Drive, as well as the war on terror. Now, Oko Kusa, what are you covering for us this week?
Well, Oliver, as Kevin has mentioned there, the BBI, of course, rally now heads to Mombasa. But it was around this place, that is in the neighboring county of Kakamega, just the other weekend. And, of course, we witnessed quite a number of activities there happening between the proponents of BBI and the opponents of BBI. And, of course, there are a lot of sharp reactions that are coming up after that particular Buhungu rally that was held in Kakamega, where a section of members of county assemblies from Western Kenya are demanding to know from governors how much money was spent in organizing that particular rally. So that is one of the reactions that is coming out of that BBI rally in Kakamega. And of course, again, we are also made to understand that the opponents or the leaders who were opposed to that particular rally, who organized a parallel rally in Mumias but failed to take off at that particular on that particular day, actually announced that they will be holding a counter rally come next weekend on a Saturday at the same grounds, that is Nabongo grounds, where they were barred from holding their rallies there on Saturday. But now they're saying that they'll be moving on to conduct their own meet the people sort of like engagement, where they'll be addressing matters to do with development and of course politics that touches on the Western Kenya. So we are on that week where these preparations for that particular meeting have been kicked off, and of course we'll be keeping an eye into just to find out if police will this time around allow them to conduct that particular rally. And of course, again, we made to understand that these BBI rallies have sort of given the opposition leader, that is the ODM leader Raila Odinga, some sort of has breathed a fresh lease of life into his political ambitions. That is what the observers here tend to believe, that these BBI rallies have sort of gave him that impetus, that push as we head towards the next general election, that is 2022. So that just in a nutshell, those are some of the reactions that are coming out of the two rallies, the Buhungu and of course the Mumias rally, which failed to take off. And again, of course, last week we were supposed to have witnessed the official opening of the refurbished Kisumu port, but that was cancelled on the 11th hour. It was supposed to have happened on 14th, that is on Tuesday, but it was postponed. Remember, this is the fourth or third time that particular official launch is being it's being postponed. And of course, now people down here are expecting that fresh dates will be issued. And if possible, this week, we may have that official opening of the port if the expectations of the people here are anything to go by. So we'll be waiting to hear from the authorities if that is going to happen. Of course, a lot of residents here have been waiting for that moment because they had the government and the county government had promised that this venture would offer additional job opportunities and business opportunities at the same time, and of course spur economic growth in this particular region. And therefore, a lot of people are keen just to witness the official opening because it provides a lot of hope in terms of job provisions and that kind of a thing. So those are basically some of the issues that we'll be trying to keep our eyes on if the governors will respond to the MCA's demand of knowing how much or what sort of budget was set aside to organize and arrange and fund the BBI rally in Buhungu, and of course if police will again license the meeting that has been called by the leaders, politicians who are opposed to BBI in Mumias next weekend. Back to you, Olive.
Okay, Ukokusa suit matching his intelligence sharp, and he's keeping his eye on the BBI as well as Kevin Mutai. And is the BBI a vehicle Raila Odinga has used to his advantage ahead of the 2022 presidential election? I'll be delving deeper into that with my panelists this morning. Now we cross over to Nakuru County where Bridget Singana is standing by. Bridget, what are you covering for us?
Well, you can just see the second week of the term this year has been very grim, especially for Nakuru County. Last week, 3 pupils at Mkulima Primary School died after lightning struck their school. It exposed the state of the school in terms of its infrastructure that is dilapidated. Also that the school is in a lightning-prone area. This is something that has shocked the education officials here in Nakuru County, and they have called for the closure of the school. They are demolishing some of those classes and building them up. At the moment, those pupils who are in that school have been moved, but we are talking about 50 or more than 50 pupils being injured by a natural occurrence in a place that they say has been prone to lightning year in, year out. They are also talking about also the death that was witnessed at PCA Bahati Girls in Nakuru County. Also one student rather died in a dormitory fire, and this is something that is still under investigation. So this week, these are the stories that we look up to following, 2 words following up in this week, because we do expect that the 3 pupils will be laid to rest sometime in the course of this weekend, as well as revelations as to what really happened at PCA Bahati Girls. Last year, the government was really clamping down on the state of schools in this country after the ill-fated Precious Island school that collapsed in Nairobi. They did go on an inspection of schools, and this was mainly targeting schools that are not registered. But we did see also here in Nakuru County, the regional commissioner who sits here, George Natembeya, saying that they will also conduct an audit of all the public schools in the county, and all in the Rift Valley, to just assess the status of the schools. What we do understand that these are old institutions that have been left dilapidated, even as the Ministry of Education talks about improving the standards and the quality of infrastructure in our schools. So we do believe that we will take that to task with the officials, the education officials in Nakuru County, have some dilapidated infrastructure. And these are schools that are hosting hundreds of pupils and students rather. And so this is something that this week Nakuru County is going to be on our docket in highlight. We're also going to focus on the security and also speak on the safety experts on how, anyway, generally a public institution or a school or a learning institution should be set up in a way that those seeking education there are really safe. If you look at Mkulima, Olive, I can just say it is really sad that that school that had 550 pupils only had 2 toilets. And you see these toilets are even made by iron sheets, and they're still not in a really good state. You could not really even quantify the school as a learning institution that is recognized by the government and qualifies as a public school. So these are some of the things that we'll be taking the officials to task and also going to the ground to look at. Another thing is the ongoing BBI conversation. We do understand Nakuru is at the heart of the country, and there have been sayings all along year in and year out that if Nakuru coughs, the country coughs. So we do expect that even as the clamor for the BBI conversation goes towards other parts of the country, it is going to head towards this direction. But at the moment, we also are hearing sentiments from a section of politicians here in Nakuru County who have been publicly allied to the Deputy President. We can start with the Senator Susan Kihika last week, Moses Kuria, Molo MP, Kimani Kuria and also the woman representative were at a public function last week saying they do not oppose the BBI rather, but they do expect that this is something the Wananchi will be involved in. So that conversation is also going to be heading this way, expecting reactions also from even the Bahati MP, Kimani Ngonjiri, regarding this issue. So these are the things that we'll be keeping an eye on, as well as other occurrences taking place from the heart of the country. Olive.
Bridget's looking radiant as ever. Unfortunately, the events making news in her county are more blue than yellow. Now we cross over to Moranga County, where we have Martin Maura standing by. Martin, briefly, what are you covering for us?
Yes, I thank you so much, Olive. It's a bright Monday morning here at County 021. Now, as you have rightly said, yes, I just want to update our viewer what is happening in this county. It's a sad Monday morning because yesterday evening, I'm being told that in Kangema, 3 young men drowned yesterday and their bodies are yet to be retrieved. But I'm being told that efforts are being made. They are looking for divers from the neighboring counties to come and help retrieve the bodies of the 3 young men. This is sad because, Olive, last week also, we had another incident in Kandara where 2 young men also drowned and their bodies are yet to be retrieved. But the efforts, I'm being told that they are going on to try and retrieve the bodies. Now, Moranga County, as you know, it's like, allow me to call it a hub of politics here. It is a county torn between Kieleweke and Tangatanga. We know last week, in the beginning of this year, you had Kandara MP Ali Swahome castigating the president for what he termed as, in terms of economy, the country being on its deathbed economically. Now the reaction continued going on. Yesterday there was a roadshow that was organized by leaders allied to the Kieleweke, who have been going around condemning and castigating the other section of Tangatanga. The roadshow, which started yesterday in Kegumo constituency, is actually going on praising the president, trying to endear the president to the people of Moranga, trying to say what the government has done for the people of Moranga has not yet been brought to the machinery, to the ground. Now most of them are saying that the leaders are going around doing rallies, telling them this and that about BBI. The residents here are saying they want the copies so that they can be able to read for themselves and make a wise decision. As the president said, let everybody read for himself. But they are saying the copies are not yet here, and the few that are available, they are being asked to give money so that they can be able to get the copies. More so, the photocopies. There are some people who have made photocopies of the so-called BBI report, and they are selling it to the residents here. So they're asking the government if it is possible just to bring it down here so that they can be able to read it for themselves and make a wise decision. That when the referendum, if it will happen, they can be able to make a decision. Something else that is happening in this county is we have an outbreak of foot and mouth disease, and so far a few cows have been reported to have died. And but the county government has said that it has put measures in place. They want to start a vaccination exercise just to ensure that it does not spread and affect more cows. Those are some of the few things that we are following up on in this county, and we'll keep you updated as more keeps on unfolding. Back to you, Olive.
All right, thank you, Martin. Looks like BBI is trending across the country. Now, time is money, so let's get straight into that news diary as promised. Now, lots of musical undertones to our headlines this morning, and this is the day that Paul Ongili, alias Babu Owino, is presented in court for shooting a DJ in a Nairobi nightclub. The Mbakasi East MP spent the weekend in police custody after he was arrested on a Friday morning. On CCTV footage, the MP, who is no alien to drama and controversy, is seen shooting Felix Orinda, known as DJ Evolve, at B Club. The police say he is set to face charges of the drama and power play at the University of Nairobi continues. The University Senate was set to hold a special meeting at 7:30 this morning, meaning that it should ideally have already started in the council chamber. The notification by a representative of the academic registrar did not mention the agenda, only saying that it is likely meant to address the power tussles at the institution, where Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha kicked out the council, annulled the appointment of Professor Stephen Gitahi Kiama as his gazetted successor stands his ground. All right, the Council of Governors is set to have its executive elections today. This will be done during a full council resolutions of the meeting at the end of that particular CON20 economic briefing this morning. The farm is expected to give expert views on various aspects of the state of the economy. These include the projected growth rate, the dynamics around the cost of living, the public debt concerns, as well as corruption. We shall be covering that for you as we seek to get more clarity on what has been termed as a struggling economy. Things we are looking at and following up on as the day progresses. First, we're keeping an eye on terrorist surveillance mission at an entertainment spot in Lamu. Security agents say they stopped a group of about 50 Al-Shabaab militants who wanted to carry out a large-scale attack on Pandanguo village. And last night, NTV aired a special report on terror attacks by the Al-Shabaab. We are monitoring any pronouncements or developments on the issues that have come to the fore. All right, the political temperatures in the country are only getting hotter, and this has been carried on a vehicle called the Building Bridges Initiative trending. The past weekend was a big one, especially in the western part of the country, with the Bukungu rally and the Mumias meeting that never was. Politicians are consistent for. We shall be following this and also putting power to task when we get an opportunity. All right, personnel and relatives who were with them got stuck in an elevator at the hospital for about 1 hour 15 minutes, and that is according to the Health Cabinet Secretary Cicely Kariuki. The CS has directed the Kenya Medical and Dentist Council to immediately investigate the matter and report back to her in 2 days. We are monitoring that situation. And we are also keeping an eye on murder in the coast. Police in Likoni are investigating the murder of a 44-year-old woman who may have run into challenges and the police may have run into challenges in their efforts to crack the case. This is after the body of her husband, who is the main suspect, was found lifeless at the Mamangina Drive. Though authorities suspect he may have taken his own life, the real cause of death is expected to be known after a post-mortem examination. We are looking to see how that develops. And we are also keeping an eye on the aftermath of a fire at PCEA Bahati Girls School in Nakuru. One student died, others were injured, and property of unknown value was destroyed after a fire razed down a dormitory at the school. The deceased was a Form 3 student and was in the dormitory at the time of the fire. The cause of the fire is yet to be established, but we are keeping an eye on that matter, and we will let you know exactly what happened once that is revealed to us. All right, and now we move on to what's trending on social media. And Moses, say on that particular subject, there you go on your screens. You have the screenshot of Moses Kuria's post on Facebook. He says, "I am sick and tired of people connecting me to the murder of Chris Musando. I will address the media on Monday, the 20th of January 2020 at 3 p.m. on this whole issue." It is trending on Twitter. It's trending on Facebook as well. It has up to 4,000 comments there, and people are saying that he should do it sooner. 3 p.m. it's much too late. Forward to getting your comments. Here's one of them, and this comment reads, no high-profile murder has ever been solved in the history of Kenya. Will Moses Kuria help in the conviction of those who killed Chris Musando? That comment comes from @Stivo Tinez, and those are his thoughts on that press conference we expect to get from Moses Kuria. Ken Mahal says this post by Moses Kuria has been blown out of Kasirikata. All right, next we have a comment coming from, hoping to see that once it fully loads. We have a comment coming from Mwangi, and he says 3 p.m. as I said is too far. Since Moses Kuria is sick, his health could deteriorate and is moved to the ICU, perhaps HDU, or even, okay, we are the distinguished ladies, gentlemen, and members of the press here, Nilate Nigata Press, all right. He says, Moses Kuria, speak earlier. All right, we have another comment that has been loaded, and this particular Facebook post reads, I thought quitting Facebook was one of your resolutions this year, but anyway, staying without following you in this year. All right, Chris Joseph Odalinga, he says you are the first to identify the vehicle, and you added that he was at his girlfriend's place, Jitete bro. Turns out the internet never forgets. All right, one more, and this comment, your focus, and Robert Njenga says, before then, record a statement with police on the same, otherwise it will be Ujinga. Remember, Msando's wife prayed that the killers will never know peace. Is it that peace that is running away from you? That is Robert Njenga. Those are your thoughts on that subject that is trending, and that is hashtag If you'd like to add your voice to theirs, just tweet us on @NTV Kenya. You can post a comment on Facebook. You can also post a comment on our YouTube channel, NTV Kenya. All right, as promised, I'm joined by two gentlemen this morning to review the events that have taken place this weekend, as well as hear their projections and their forecast on what we can expect next, especially as concerns the BBI report. I'm joined by Gabriel Mudhuma, a political pundit, and next to him is Charles Mundui, also a political pundit. All right, gentlemen, BBI is trending across the country. Gabriel, I'll start with you. Yes, you had Oko Kuse in Kisumu, Kevin Mutai in Mombasa. We had Bridges Ngana in Nakuru, and also Martin Mora in Moranga, and he said is a political hub. And he said they're all talking about the BBI. What do you have to say about the BBI following the events in Bukungu?
True to the fact is that, yes, BBI is trending, and we've been following it, ever since it was launched in Bomas, and it's been creating all this excitement, if you will. But before I say anything, BBI, I think it's right to start with something good. I really congratulate our policemen they've been able to thwart 2 terrorist attempts. You had the one in Lamu and the one that was being organized at Whiskey. The men and women in uniform in this country are doing so. We congratulate them for that. Coming to BBI.
Wait, actually, let's just get into that and then just finish with that.
Charles, and so it was.
Do you also think the police are doing a good job?
They're doing a good job, and I think these are things they do in very many occasions. It's only that we never get to know them. We never get to hear about these things because of their very nature. And I think it's a warning shot to a lot of these organizers. If you look at even the security arrangements they have in those clubs, it doesn't matter how high profile they are. Because if you find even individuals with guns in clubs, anybody can get that gun from you and do a lot of damage, especially considering you are taking intoxicants. So I think even the security runs that are done by the clubs themselves internally should receive better training, if you ask me. We already have a private an authority on private security companies and organizations. So I think we need to coordinate better with our security organs so that we are able to take care of these things before they happen. But I think kudos, they did a good job.
Kudos to them. All right, Gabriel, what is this spate of terror attacks about? We had the teachers and the students who are killed in the north. This morning I read about
from what history has taught us is that towards the remembrance of any major event, and I don't want to call it an event, any major happening, like you remember the Elade and also the 1 year, after Dusit. And if you look at it, you see there was something which was being done or prepared to coincide with these two dates. So I think every time there's some sort of a remembrance of an event that took place, you have terrorist group who wants to make a mark that, hey guys, we are still alive. So as you know, and I've told you this time and time again, Olive, that the terrorists, they only need to get it right once, and they cause serious havoc. So that means our security apparatus must always, always, always be at the tip to understand the intelligence that's coming, to receive a lot of help that they receive from their allies and their coalition partners. And the other thing, for Mwananchi, me and you, to be quite sober when we are, coming towards these dates that are coinciding with events that took place, in the past. Same thing when you look at the heightened security around September 11th across the U.S. and their allies. At that particular point, you always see people getting just a little bit jittery because, terrorists, they want to make their mark following that date so that, a follow-through, can be remembered on that. So, I think it's good, to be remembering that we have our men and women in uniform who stick guard. Half of the time we may not remember them, but they are always there.
All right. Charles, do you agree with Gabriel that this is about marking those major terror events? They're trying to remind us of what was.
I believe so. And remember, terrorists operate as cells. It's not like they call for meetings in one place and then they agree on how to go about this business. They learn from what's going on, they watch news. Yeah. Now they have identified that as an area where they can do the next damage. Remember, historically, they have always been keen on where Americans and those people they have a problem with usually patronize. So I think it is also good to appreciate that they could change tact and just purely decide to punish Kenya as Kenya, and where Kenyans are, revelers. And remember, usually they have issues with anybody who is not Muslim to a large extent. And I'm not saying I'm profiling any religion or anything. So it's also reasonable that we should be prepared for such things. We should work towards ensuring we secure those facilities better, because again, the moment you fear so much to go to these places to have fun, then it means they have won in the first place, even before they throw a bullet. So we need to secure ourselves. We need to work towards ensuring the facilities that we patronize are secure internally and externally, and especially reporting anything that looks suspicious. And I think considering they are in here, most of them are not coming from outside, they are within ourselves. I think we need to be better, in terms of seeing things that are out there. If you go to some of these places like UK, you'll find one little thing you're doing in your own apartment is reported by 3 to 4 neighbors. It could be the minormost thing, but it's reported, and police are on your door shortly after that, confirming whether you are there legitimately, and more importantly, what it is that you're doing. And that is the direction we need to go. There's nothing wrong with that, and of course, there's a response from the police should be reasonable in terms of don't dismiss it, come check what's going on. And that will encourage more people to be reporting some of these things that look innocent before you realize were really bad for the country.
All right.
Yeah.
I know, okay, before we get to BBI, you touched on entertainment, sports, and security and safety. And speaking of that, there is this petition to stop firearm carriers, and this is in connection with the shooting at B Club over the weekend. Babu, we know a person who looks like Babu, we know, was seen on CCTV footage
who looks like
firing.
Babu, you know?
I have to protect the company from any.
You want to be legally correct.
Oh yes, a person who looks
can I tell you something?
I want to argue the final legal point.
And I'm not actually asking you to argue on them. I understand you have to protect your company, and I'm okay with that. But let me tell you something about cameras. Let me tell you something about what we are calling a live witness, because that's what a camera is. Today, there are so many jurisdictions that have passed it as a key legal and live witness. Body cameras. Police in the US must don on body cameras. All right? So this is not an issue of he looked like. No, it was caught on camera. No, I'm just giving you. Their squad cars, the minute they start chasing you, the minute they put the siren on, it starts recording. Why are we using CCTV cameras? So that we can capture the event as it happened.
All right.
All right? Babu, we know. No. Babu, or we know, was an accident looking for a place to happen. And it did happen.
All right.
All right.
Now, can I get to my question?
Yes. Well, that's the same question you're heading on. That's what you're heading on.
This is what I was asking. In terms of security and safety, because we're transitioning from the question of terror.
Right.
There is a petition that people frequenting entertainment sports should not be allowed to carry firearms into the premises. Do you support that petition?
100%. And let me tell you something. That has been the case. I don't know whether it's written.
Actually, there was a sign, apparently, that said no weapons allowed.
Exactly. There are so many joints that firearms are not allowed for a very good reason. Because, the minute you walk in there with a firearm, you're actually going to drink. And the minute you start indulging in alcohol, we all know what happens. Your mind is not where it should be. You're
you
not
lose all
alert.
sensibility.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, somebody was making fun of it. You know, that Babu, said shots on me. It's not even fun. It's not even funny the way people are talking about it. But this is an incident that happened. This is an attempted murder. Somebody would have actually almost lost his life because somebody just reached out, and it was a matter of show off. I don't care what people say. The man was just trying to show off, and that's why I'm telling you, it's just an accident. It does not matter what was there before the incident happened. This is a legislator. He should have known better. Look at the time that the incident was reported. It was actually the wee hours of the morning. They say 7 a.m. You're taking a substance that is not supposed to be sold. All right? And that's why it has received, first of all, it is receiving a lot of attention, not only from our shows, but I know so many people who are looking from outside to look at how this case will go. Because let me tell you, Kenya right now, with our laws, we are actually being put on a pedestal and people are watching. Remember, and I want to remind our viewers, this is not just something
that's happening. Is that why haven't we heard more from the DJs? I know there's a march that is planned, but they say, you hit a boda boda rider or you scratch a boda boda rider and they all come for you. So people are
up to now, and it's under investigations. And the boda riders you're talking about, usually they aggravate the situation. You have seen them getting into an accident and caused by them 90% of the time, and then they burn one of the victim's vehicles. Sometimes even batter up the victim. And I think that is not the way to go. To me, it is good to keep calm. Incidentally, coming back to the issue of the evidence, I think we need to work seriously on the Evidence Act so that we appreciate where we are now in terms of electronics, in terms of how this information is captured. It doesn't matter how you look at it. You'll find the first thing that I want to believe that team is going to fight is admissibility of that particular video that we're talking about. But I don't want to go there. I think what we need, there are a lot of other areas that our MPs, members of parliament, both houses, Senate and the National Assembly, need to work on so that we drop these lacunas. We're still operating as if we are in the 1950s in terms of our laws and how we implement the same. And that's why it's making it very difficult for the executive and especially the judiciary. You've seen the judiciary knocking off cases that looked very solid out of a technicality because there was a gap in terms of the laws that are there. So I think we need to look at these things, put them together, and then appreciate that we are here today. Today we are receiving, like I saying, even before they can go 2 meters. You remember the issue of sub judice. You cannot say anything as a media house yourself. And even on issues that you should actually be addressing yourselves to, because we have clogged ourselves up. I think we need to ease up these things, appreciate that we can be able to talk about this, talk about the other one, and especially on matters evidence. On matters evidence. Otherwise, you'll find people walking that should otherwise be in jail. And I think that would be the tragedy. It would be a real tragedy.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd like us to move on to University of Nairobi leadership. I don't know if they call it a leadership crisis. What is going on, Gabriel? What's your reading of the situation? George Magoha says one thing, the other fellow comes out and says, no, I will continue serving. What is happening?
No, honestly, if you ask me, and I'm sure, this is my take, this is my personal opinion, I just think this is where interests are playing at hand. It's a case where the good professor believes, this Magoha, who believes that that process was not done well. But then again, I think he has been on it, from day one. I mean, don't forget that Professor Magoha was at one time the VC of Nairobi University. So I believe these are interests that are really taking place. You have a team now who sees Kiama is the right person to be on this job, and I think he qualifies for it. And then you have another team which thought Mbete would actually take it. In fact, before that, going for this seat, it's almost like going for a gubernatorial election. So there are so many quotas within that realm of the university. You have students on one camp, you have the others who are pushing on this camp. So generally, I think we are going to see something play out quite significantly, because Kiama has said no. I'm in here through the right channels, through the right means, and I'm not getting out of it. On the other side, the CS, Bonamagoha, has moved to nullify everything and has said, I'm inviting the DPP and the DCI and whoever and everybody and their uncle to come and look into this process, how it was done, because I believe a lot of corruption deals were done within it. And after nullification, this man called Mbeche is the one who is supposed to be, at the helm while all these things are going on. And Kiama on the other side, he said no. So where do you expect this thing to go, Olive? I can guarantee you it's heading to the locals.
All right. What do you have to say on that subject, Charles?
I think it's interests, and there must be a lot of money involved. Forget about what people tell you. There is a lot of money going on in that particular institution, and I think in terms of procurement procedures, there's a lot of control when it comes to the VC, and that's why the council would want to have their own person in there. And I think there's a disconnect between the council and the Senate, if you ask me. And those are the things we need to look at. When you're talking about matters, corruption, BBI, and all these things, we need to look at where does it go wrong for us. All these boards you're seeing that are sitting, the so-called directors, what are they for? How come you are a failed politician and then you find yourself chairing one of the most important boards that we have around? What is it that you have? Yet you don't have a salary. So what is it that you've come to offer? And more importantly, why are you so committed to it? What is going on? Then you have the CEO that you hold at ransom. Every minute he has to give you what you want in terms of the tenders that are in there and your cronies. I think this is a holistic issue that we need to look at, not just the University of Nairobi. We are talking about all these institutions that we are talking about. Remember, we have tried reforms, parastatal reforms and all that. What are these boards exactly? If we are serious about these boards, it's either one or two things. We either give these board guys salaries so that they can earn something, and then we put in the right people in there, or we throw them out and then we say, then we are going to deal with the CEO. Otherwise, you find a whole institution being placed on an organization, and then it creates more confusion than answers. And I think even look at the municipality boards that are introduced by the Urban Areas and Cities Act for counties. Look at the interests that are there. Some of them are chaired by people who have not even gone to school because of the interests of the respective governors. These are the things that we need to look at and ask ourselves. What exactly are these boards, all these directors, what are they about? Are they duplicating? Are they supporting? Are they helping us grow? Or are they creating more
that's
confusion?
Around this,
exactly. Or is it about interest?
Appointments.
And especially, why is it so exciting? All of a sudden now Kenyans know Vice Chancellor. In fact, we used to hear Vice and think, he's Vice, he's not a big guy. All of a sudden now we know he's a big thing, because figures like 20 billion are being dropped all over the place, and it cannot be very far from the mark, trust me.
All right.
So if you're talking about that kind of money,
I want us to come full circle,
yes,
back to where we started,
yes,
and BBI.
Yes.
I'll have you both have the last word on that. I'll start with you, Gabriel.
BBI is an animal in itself. But take what my friend has said when it comes to big money in universities. There's something called research money. Man, only that amount can actually go into billions. And hardly are you even asked to explain that money. So when you're seeing such fights within our academic institutions, and you obviously know there's a push and pull somewhere. Like you said, it's all about the money, follow the money. Having said that, there are several things. First of all, I'd like to remind Kenyans, and this one I take it from the onset what the president said. The president was so afraid, and actually the way it's playing now, you can see why the president was afraid. He said, kindly don't allow BBI to be taken over by politicians. That's where we are headed. And that's what actually may render it becoming from what the president envisioned it to be, to becoming some sort of a political vehicle that will actually undermine his Big Four agenda and satisfy this curiosity of the formations of 2022.
What I'm curious about, having listened to the speeches that were made in Bukungu, looking at what happened in Mumias and looking at what happened in Kisii, part of the question is, people are asking where were the published copies of the BBI report, and we thought we'd be interrogating the issues in the BBI report.
Not only that, that was the precursor of Bomas. we agreed on certain things. We agreed that this report was good. We are taking it machinani. How do we take it machinani? First of all, is making copies available. And that's why when the team was gazetted, when the committee, the BBI committee was gazetted, my understanding was they would move and burn the entire midnight oil to ensure that Wanjiko has the copies. And not only just the copies, because my aunties and Nani's grandmother, you know, they cannot read English. We must find a way. How will they be able to read? How are we going to interpret that document to them so that they know that which is contained within the BBI and what their rights are? What have they been promised in that BBI? And that we can start having a national conversation. What we have today is what we saw in Kakamega. And let's put it clearly. I do not want my own views. I do not want BBI hijacked by politicians. I do not want where BBI goes, the name that we are talking about, we are actually discussing personalities instead of discussing what is good for Wanjiko. We are losing it. We are losing it. You cannot take a BBI and just talk about you and another individual, or talk about this individual and another one, or that individual, and you start pitting people, personalities, one
against
of
the other.
By the way, we are going to lose it. So BBI has a very good focus. It is ensuring that me and my good friend here, we have a conversation, a national conversation, that will end up in us surmounting, Olive, of how we want to be governed. What haven't we done right, and how we need to change and do it right and correct. Okay. Failure to that, Olive, I think we're just setting formations of a yes and no. The oranges and bananas. We are back to it.
Charles.
Yes.
Do you agree with Gabriel that the BBI has been hijacked by politicians? And is the BBI turning out, as Deputy President William Ruto says, to be a vehicle for Raila Odinga to reinvent himself ahead of the 2022 presidential elections?
I don't think so. And Gabriel should know better. First and foremost, we only gazetted the new team to implement the report, I think 3 days ago. Those are the guys to give us copies. I agree with him, because trust me, if those copies were done by anybody else, today, the politics would be that particular office has spent 3 to 5 billion in copies, and they have stolen everything. It's gone. Everything is gone. Now, number one, this is a public report now. The moment we gave it out at Bomas, it became a public report. It can be discussed in public rallies. It can be discussed in political rallies. It can be discussed in churches, funerals, anywhere, even in social gatherings. We are doing it in pubs. Those guys that frequent pubs. I don't know whether Muduma does. People who go to churches, they are discussing BBI. Trust me, if the BBI report cannot stand the test of politics, then we are talking about a document that's going nowhere. Remember, Kakamega, Wakili Wetangula was not coming. Mudavadi was not coming. Boni Halwale, the bullfighter, never showed up. What happened when the two showed up? They were given a forum. They addressed the same people that they had not even mobilized. They had actually demobilized the rally and told people, don't go. I saw one guy on NTV saying, I did not go because Mudavadi is my leader and he told me he's not going for this thing. I was shocked to see him heading there. So it means people are ready to go to one area. Politics is local. Listen to what BBI has for them as a region and then stand guided. Because even before the copies come, people have a lot of respect for these people that they have elevated as their leaders. So what is the big thing about even Bonnie walking into that meeting, getting the microphone and saying his bit? And I think this is now how BBI wins. In the past, it was about a political rally for this group, a political rally for the other grouping. What would have stopped even William Samoei Ruto attending the Kakamega meeting and actually would have been given the podium to address the people and told the people of Western what it is all about and why he has a concern about ABCD? Because I think, Olive, the moment we start viewing BBI as any other average document, political document, or even the Constitution, remember, all of them were in Bomas, all of them to the man, all of them were in Bomas. So what is different between Kakamega, and is the same follow-up, because even that was a political arrangement, and Bomas? I think we need to slow down in terms of the politics around BBI. We need that guy from Mount Kenya region to look at BBI in terms of the leadership of Mount Kenya region and appreciate, is our concern issues of inclusivity? Is it about the Prime Minister? Or is it delimitation that is due as provided by Article 89 in terms of the constituencies? And we need to call our people and tell them the BBI has proposed we retain the 290 constituencies. We have a concern because we have a lot of people here. Population is very heavy. We need to have a weighted way of allocating resources. And then we need that provided for in the constitution. These are the things we need so that central meeting is going to look slightly different from Kakamega because of if you don't identify the interests of that region, then have everything else ride on that so that Kenyans in that particular region can appreciate what BBI is. You're going to find yourself selling a general document like a political party's manifesto.
All right, now we are out of time, but briefly.
Very quickly. You see, the point that I raised, and I know will agree with this, the point that I raised is a concern that the president had. And there's a reason as to why the president had that concern. When he said, do not allow the document to be hijacked by politicians. Because the president knew, he's a politician, par excellence. So he knows the minute politicians will take this document, they will actually make it to serve their interests. And this is what this is where I'll actually disagree with the proponents who are pushing BBI as a conduit for 2022. One thing I'm liking about the president, what he said is this: BBI is not talking about positions. BBI is not talking about what many politicians think or wanted to talk about. It is not saying that huyu atapatiwa kiti gani. No. In fact, it is not talking about 2022. And the president made it very clear. So at any given time, BBI should not be a precursor to that. BBI should be what it was set out to be. We have a problem at hand. We have a rhythm in this country that comes to a standstill after every 5 years. What do we need to doctor? If my interest and that of my region are sorted, I need the youngest and the lowly person within that society to understand what BBI stands for them, and yet the oldest person
that's
in
a political
that
solution
to also understand what that BBI means. But if you politicize it and we make it about personalities, we have lost the main spirit of BBI.
Okay,
BBI is political, my dear.
Okay, and Charles, I agree with you, although I'm not too sure about that point.
It's a process that requires a political solution to a large extent. Because in terms of growing the economy, you have an executive that is doing that.
I'm not sure I agree with you on the point of why was it so difficult for Boni Halwale. Would he have gotten that room to grab the microphone? I don't know. I had people being called Mshenzi on that stage. It was a bit chaotic. All right, we'll delve further into these issues tomorrow. I will be here on AM Live tomorrow morning after Dibala and his guests. Thank you so much for keeping us company. Keep it NTV.
Be part of over 40,000 students pursuing and nurturing their career at Moi University. Enroll now. Moi University, the foundation of knowledge.
Kwa majina ni Shida Gesanga. Mimi ni mchezaji tu. Ndoto yangu mimi iko nitachezea Harambee Starlets niende ngambo. Nikirudi nitasaidia mamangu kwa shida. Na ninaona hii ndoto itaanza na betika na community.
Hii timu yenye hii msichana yangu anachezea, tulianza tukiwa na maono, tunataka tukuze talents ya wasichana, sababu wasichana huwa wanabaki nyuma na wanaenda ma street.
We are very excited because every time we see the excited faces of the young players when they get their kits and their new balls, it gives us a urge to continue investing in the communities.
Betika na community iliongeza morali kwa timu ya Gusii Starlets mpaka wakapiwa mtu mabao 23. Tukiwa na Betika na community, hii timu itaenda mbali, itacheza premier na watoto watajisaidia.
Did you know, as a leading African banking group, we have invested $50 million in technology to make your banking easier. Absa Group, serving Kenya as Barclays.
Zetech's breathable surface, developed with airsoft technology, is very soft and provides the best Molfix skincare.
I've found the best diaper for my baby's sensitive skin.
All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
Tusonge mbele na Fiber Mobile. Get a fiber SIM card today and enjoy Tusonge mbele bundles at affordable prices.
Health is where we spend quite a lot of our money. About 30% of our entire budget goes to healthcare. We started by starting to build a big hospital, and phase 1 is near completion. I'm hopeful before the end of this year it will be ready to be operationalized.
Maybe you're not putting us on a TV show.
That ship already sailed when you got involved with me.
Minda, you're hired. Yay!
Welcome to the family. Why are you so obsessed with putting your life out there?
Haya, kwani ni wewe?
Aye, what a coincidence.
Wewe unanifuata?
Are you sure? Ni wewe ama ni mimi nakufuata?
Mr. Mayweather Odhiambo.
You are under arrest.
What?
Denarius, son of my mother. Denarius.
With Lipa na M-Pesa, you get more. Every 100 shillings spent on Lipa na M-Pesa earns you an entry into the draw. Do more with Lipa na M-Pesa.
The office was shifted from here. It's now in Shimanzi. We were told if we use the tuk-tuk, it's 100 bob to there.
It's my first time in Mombasa. I don't know anywhere. Like, look, I don't know anything about Mombasa.
Now, the main source. We called. He was not picking up the calls.
NTV, turning on your world.
Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a super weekend. And if you happen to be in a relationship and you got into a fight with your significant other, then you want to listen up, because we're going to dive into that quite a bit in today's show. We're talking about conflict and conflict resolution. Is it inevitable? How can you resolve an argument with as much grace and not having a hothead as possible? And we've got two experts in the building. We're here at Park Inn by Radisson, and we're going to dive into it. Conflict resolution and compatibility.
Right.
So my first guest is Ernest Romboy, and he's a father, a husband, an author of this book, Basics. Basics with, you know, the cool bay in it. Basics. Setting the right foundations to marry well. And he's an award-winning author as well. And then, and I'm sure there's so many people who are watching and are like, yeah, I'm writing notes so that I can tell
Right.
Mr. X or Miss X, right? Because they need to learn. Yeah, it's like, listen up. Right, so before we even get into the conflict bit, maybe we should start by trying to figure out compatibility in relationships and how you know this is telltale signs that this isn't just you know, a good fun thing, but it's a solid relationship with the right foundations. How do you, what are the telltale signs?
All right. I think one of the things that I really see as important to make a couple have a firm foundation for the future marriage is having similar fundamental values. There are things that you hold to be very important to you, and you would not compromise them no matter what. I'm talking about the things that you would die for. The things that are so key to you that you feel like the rest of your life cannot be defined without those things. So I'll give an example. In my life, it's my Christian faith. That is something that is so key to me. I feel like you can't take that away from me. I mean, I'd be willing to die for that. And when couples come together, they must ask themselves, do they have fundamental values that they agree with? Because fundamental values are what they are. They're fundamental. You don't want to shift from them. They're not things that you change with time. They're not things that change with the age. And if couples come together and their fundamental values clash, they are going to be incompatible. They may love each other's, they may have the quote unquote chemistry, so to speak, you know, they may finish each other's sentences, but ultimately when the rubber meets the road, their fundamental values are going to help them clash, because it's going to cause them to clash, because it's going to affect how you raise children. It's going to affect how you use your money. It's going to affect how you do. The most basic things in life are actually governed by our fundamental values. So that's one thing that does really cause lack of compatibility, so to speak.
To add on what Ernest has said, maybe somebody is asking, what is a value? And a value is the principles and standards by which I live, by which I make choices. What is that guiding light that tells me I'm not going to be with Jane, I'm going to be with Mary? So those are belief systems that we have set over time. And where do we get these values? These values come from the way that we are raised, from our religious leanings, from our parental raising. You know, I usually make fun and I say, the way you are in a family, and they say, in our family we don't do such. And so I grew up hearing my mother saying, in our family we don't consult witch doctors. You know, so if you find somebody who is in that area, then that person is not going to be compatible with you, because they are not walking the same way that you are. One of the things that couples need to understand is that chemistry is not everything, because that's what we go for. What we need to find out is how much we are in agreement. And even when we don't agree, that we are agreeable with each other. Even when we are not feeling like I can accept what you are doing, that I can express to you acceptability. You see what? So if we are not in that space with each other, then it's just like Ernest said, we are going to clash more than couples who would be more compatible.
Most couples go by that chemistry. Oh, this feels good. He said I looked good today. Ooh, she likes my car. You know, is that why sometimes couples still go? Because what you're saying makes so much sense. Yeah. I'm just wondering then, why do we override that kind of such a big conversation? And
well, I
go
think
with what?
I think one major contributing factor to that is Hollywood. Hollywood has sold this idea that Princess Fiona, Shrek, whoever, you know, even as odd a couple as they may be, or Cinderella charming the default couple, they come together and there's just a spark. You know, so subtly we bind to that idea that when I feel things, then this is the right person. Wow. You know, and so that idea that that spark, that feeling, and the trouble with that is that, and I'll say, I mean, as a married person, you could actually feel that with someone else.
Yes.
Who you're not married to.
Yes.
You can meet someone for the very first time and think, whoa. And if
right,
so
because Hollywood tells you if there's no sparks, there's something.
Then I have fallen in love, and now there is a place for this spark.
Oh yes,
within
definitely.
the relationship, because you see, every long-term relationship has seasons. And so the season of dating, that's what causes you to get together with a person. That's what causes me to say, I'll go 4 weeks of dating. We are talking for 2-3 hours into the morning. But what are we talking about? I remember talks were not the talks that 20-somethings would be having, because we have already matured to other things, character things. We would need to explain to people that the spark has a space, and that is the dream season of the relationship. However, it needs to go deeper. It needs to go into What do you like? What don't you like? Who are you like? I remember this guy that I met, and obviously as a counselor, I had learned the questions to ask.
Yes.
So I said, so tell me about where you went to school. And you know what he told me? He said, why do you want to know? And I knew right there that we are not going to be compatible, because even though there was chemistry, this guy is not willing to go deeper. He's not willing to be vulnerable. And vulnerability is the other issue that is very important in a relationship. That I can be honest with.
Who I'm sure you must know of. She's a parent. What relationships we're in. That we could dive into that as a whole other show. So, at which point should you then start asking the questions? How soon should you just, is it like, hey, Ernest, yeah, nice to meet you. So what are your values? Because I don't want to waste time. And I don't want to, because the problem is once you start having those feelings and it's like, oh, it's exciting. They've called, she's called. Then you're like, what are values? You
spark the feelings, you like how she looks, you like how he looks. I look at that as an invite.
Okay.
You know, it's like, it's letting this person come into your space for you to ask the most serious questions, okay? So it's okay at that point. Take that moment to develop just a friendship with this person, to get to know, okay, so who is this person? What are they like? You know, get to hang out with them in the difficult things that you want to consider for the rest of your life. You know, okay, how's their character? You know, how do they talk to the watchman? How do they talk to the, you know, to the guard? And so those are the things that are gonna matter. You know, because at the end of the day, the feelings can't raise children. The feelings can't keep a marriage. The feelings can't. They are not pivotal, so to speak. So the feelings are good. They invite you. Develop a friendship with this person, and at times, just in that period of friendship, you can tell, you know, it's good. Let's just remain as friends with this person. But if you like what you've seen, if there is more, then I think that pushes you to now ask them the important questions. Like know them deeper, asking them the tougher questions.
So the both of you have talked about tougher questions. Can we now have examples, because we're all ready to write them down and figure out like question number one. Now, what are some of those questions?
Now, the question that I asked this guy, where did you go to school? That's a very simple question, but it will lead you to know the kind of background he had. And if for instance, if you ask me that question, then I will say, oh, I went to Olongai Primary School, and this was my experience there, that I had this, oh, I'll never forget this teacher. And so I begin to tell my life story to you. And if you are keen and you're listening, you're going to learn some things. I remember one thing, my husband, we are talking, and I realized in every conversation we had, the conversation of finances came up.
Yes.
And I as a 30-something woman, I'm saying I'm not looking for a man to take care of me. I've been taking care of myself since I was 17. So pay attention to what people repeat. Because if somebody repeats something, it means that something is important to them. And so I asked him, I have realized that you really do talk about money. And then I got the story. And so
where he's going.
Yes.
And inversely, if you were asking someone questions, you know, about their background, and they kept talking about alcohol, parties, drinking, and you were like, I really don't want to be.
What we talk about reveals our hearts, our as well. And by faith, you know, talking about what's your belief concerning the origin of life, what's your belief concerning the purpose of life, what's your belief concerning the destiny of life, all right? And those questions you can answer them on the macro level. Oh, yes, I believe there's a God, or I don't believe there's a God, okay? It doesn't matter. Why are we here on earth? Well, are we just here to make money, get rich, die trying? Why are we here? You know, are we here to live for others, or are we here to live for ourselves? You know, what happens when we die? Those are important questions, you know, questions of money, questions of faith, questions of character, you know, how they treat other people, how they
they'll be like, no, I'm a nice guy, but then you watch how they like treat the waiter, treat the, you know,
and everybody puts the best foot forward when you're dating. You know, you want to be seen as this perfect person. Now, Sherry Graff, in her book, the book she's written called I Don't Get You, and it's a guide to healthy conversations. And she says there are 5 levels of conversations, and I think people can use these 5 levels to just get deeper in knowing someone. She says level 1 is basic information. Hi, my name is Ernest. Hi, my name is Sharon. Oh, I live in Nairobi. I live in Nairobi as well. This is just biodata. Anyone can get this kind of information from you. You know, I mean, this information you feel in a medical form, right? Then level 2 is when you talk about your general personal experiences. So these are things you've gone through. But they are not necessarily in this transformative experience when I went to this camp. You know, so it's something that you can have aspirations. What do you want to achieve in this life? What are you after? What are you pursuing? And at that point, the truths concerning this area start to come out. Okay, level 4 and 5 are ready to commit. It may be dangerous because they may feel they've opened up too much to you, or you may feel like you are attached to them and perhaps you're not willing to commit. And it says level 4 is when you talk about your deepest fears. What are you afraid of? You may say, oh, I'm afraid, I don't want to get married. I'm afraid, why? My parents suffered a divorce. I don't want to get married. I'm afraid I've got too many skeletons in my closet. I'm afraid of that. And then level 5 is when you talk about your deepest hearts, okay? And if you realize level 4 and 5 has to do with what Grace said, vulnerability, all right? So deepest fears, deepest hearts, sorry. These are things that you've gone through that bring tears to your eyes when you start speaking about them. These things, you'll help people together. So many times, I think even just by level 3, you can tell, I don't want to go deep with this person. You know.
Oh my goodness.
You know what is happening now, especially with our young generation, is that within the first month of meeting, we've already gone to level 5. Because we have already talked about the boyfriend who ditched me, the girlfriend who cheated on me, and courtship before we have done, because dating is supposed to be a time when by the time we are week 3, we have already had a sleepover.
Oh my goodness! So we've got to take a break, but I mean, you have no idea how excited I am. I feel like I'm in a classroom. I can't wait. Be back in a moment.
Selector. More slices na bei ni ile ile.
Kisha tusonge mbele, kisha tusonge mbele. Kisha tusonge mbele, kisha tusonge mbele. Tusonge mbele.
Tusonge mbele na Fiber Mobile. Get a Fiber SIM card today and enjoy Tusonge mbele bundles at affordable prices.
We have what you call youth centers. We've got 60 youth centers across the county.
We have involved youth because we feel this is the only way that we can bring them together to do some work here and there, and they are given small allowance. And we also put them on NHIF so that they are able to benefit from the universal health coverage.
The three sides of Anna.
After this, I won't be able to live in peace for the rest of my life. I have to confess what I did. I have to turn myself in.
You're not going to do anything! It's the only thing you'll ever get from me, Iñaki. Because the young man that's lying there, he is the real reason why I abandoned you. I don't want you in my house, nor in my life, especially in my boy's life. Get out of here!
The three sides of Anna. With Lipa na M-Pesa, you get more.
Lipa na M-Pesa.
Every 100 shillings spent on Lipa na M-Pesa earns you an entry into the draw. Do more with Lipa na M-Pesa.
The office was shifted from here. It's now in Shimanzi. We were told if you use the tuk-tuk, it's 100 bob to there.
It's my first time in Mombasa. I don't know anywhere. Like, he was not picking up the calls.
Every day, NTV News team moves you to the center of the action.
The security forces who took part in this operation.
Police are not taking anything to chance.
And avoid telling the story of Kenya.
The growing importance of border in Mandera.
Matatus will be on strike.
And beyond.
The politics in the United States capital.
It is the 7th edition of the Global Education taking place in Dubai.
When it comes to business, we crunch the numbers and unpack the detail with the latest information for your investment decision.
It's time to say goodbye to this note and karibu to this note.
In order for the manufacturing sector to be elevated from the ground.
Despite the government's promise to create at least 1.3 million jobs.
Moves you fast past the planes and trucks to bring you the triumphs and joys of our great men and women.
Moving stories,
that touch our hearts.
I didn't know that I could go back to school.
The Back to School program has brought hope to these young mothers.
NTV News. News that moves you.
And we're also going to get into conflict and conflict resolution. I've got Ernest from Boya and Grace Karaoke here, and before the break they were just blowing my mind with some of the questions that you should be asking during the dating phase, and you mentioned Cheryl Graff's book.
Yes.
And you know, you gave the 5 things that you 5 levels that you should levels of conversation. And then Grace, you started saying that the problem is that we by week 3 we've covered all 5 things. We feel so connected, so attached, and we're like open to sharing our deepest, darkest fears. And
I believe, first of all, because we haven't had time to process. We haven't processed our own experiences. And so I'm coming in, and suddenly somebody who accepts me and somebody who I have chemistry with, and we begin to feel like this is a safe space for me to be vulnerable. The thing is, then when they walk away from us, then we are wounded because I invested too much into this. So step number 1, even before you get into knowing this person, you need to know yourself. You need to deal with the things that you bring. Know your baggage. Know what it is that you bring into the relationship as baggage. So deal with it first. Be the right person before you look, first of all, and then when you know what your values are, then you are going to find or attract a person with the same, so you will be able to know whether this person is of value or not. Now, you asked about generally, let me put it this way, generally, you need to date for at least 3 months. At least 3 months before now you step into and when to not get into. So for 3 months, let's not be sexual. If you know, and I know we are in a different dispensation, but because once we become that vulnerable again with a person, it's harder for us to step back and look. At around 6 months, that's when a relationship begins. You can imagine if I move in with you at month number 1. I don't know everything about you. Now I have put myself into a space where I have to know you as a spouse, as a long term, because I have opened myself to you as a spouse. I normally say we set up a home before we have decided whether that is the right thing for us to do at this time in our life. Because when I move in with somebody, so you don't want to do that. During those first 6 months of the relationship, just get to know this person and at least get to level number 4. You know, before now you go into level, help me out here. I don't know whether the timelines would depend on the maturity of people, their value systems, and also what they are looking, what is their goal. For instance, I remember I was 20 and I said to myself, why am I dating? For what? Because I got burnt and I thought to myself, okay, I'm trying to build a career, I'm trying to go to college. Why am I complicating myself with this lifetime things? There is a time for everything. And I decided at 20, I'm not dating. And I did that thing you said, you know, go out in groups, get to know yourself within a group.
It really is important because we pose this the question, you ask yourself, would you marry you?
Yes.
You know? Would you marry
That's
if you
Whoa, wait a second. Let's take a moment. I've never heard that before. Would you marry you?
Would you? And you see, we judge other people by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intention. And I don't think I'd be happy if someone else did them to me. And so I must stop. I must evaluate myself. I must, you know, it's okay to be single for a season. So one person is out of college. By the time they're 22, they've been in 8 relationships. And I mean, it's hard because, you know, you hear them starting to say certain things. They say, okay, all men are dogs, all women are. And I remember I met this lady who said, it's all men are dogs. I'm like, whoa, calm down. How old are you? She's like, I'm 23. I'm like, how many have you dated? I'm like, okay, I've dated like 6 of them. I'm like, 6 of them? Like, and from these 6 men, all men are dogs, all men are trash. I'm like, yeah. So the one from church, the one from the club, the one from the all of them are the same. All of them are trying to use me. All of them are dogs. I'm like, okay, let's evaluate these 6 dogs. And I just have very tough humility to take a step back and perhaps evaluate why you keep choosing the same kind of people.
Yes.
There is someone out there who will love you differently from these people, and that guy can't be a dog. He can't be trash. You know.
Oh my goodness.
Take a step back, work on yourself, and then step out. And you are asked to be involved in a community despite your flaws. You know, you want people to say, hey, Sharon Bing wants appreciation. You want to do something and you want people to recognize your worth for it. So we run to relationships hoping to get these three things. We want someone to affirm us. Someone tell us, ladies want to hear you're beautiful. Guys want to hear you did well. You know, they want to be respected. They want to have emotional connection. They want to be accepted. They want you to tell them, hey, you know, this is my past. I've messed up. I've had some really horrible things, but it's okay. I'll still be with you. And you want to be appreciated. You want to say, hey, you brought worth into my life since I was with you. We can actually get those things apart from an intimate relationship with someone of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
All right? And it's important to be affirmed, be accepted, be appreciated. That from matters. Infinite source. You will not fumble even though the worst in life hits you. And so I get my source of affirmation, appreciation, and acceptance from my relationship with Christ. That can never be taken away from me. And I urge you.
Wow. So I think we should jump into the conflict, you guys actually, to share with us how you handle conflict in your marriage.
How I handle relationship. I think stories of them using weapons and trying to actually get things by force and killing their partners out, and then I think they can work when you talk.
Well, I think the first time I'll get mad a little, and then I'll take my time to think about it, and then I'll talk to the person.
Okay, when it comes to my case, mimi wanga naamua kunyamaza, because by the time maybe tumekosana, tumesumbuana na mrembo wangu, and it's like kila mtu amekasirika. For you to avoid maneno mingi, you just need to keep quiet. Kwa sababu ukiraise up uwe na umekasirika na mwingine pia amekasirika, you find that now the issue that was small imekuwa kubwa. So it's good for you to keep quiet and maybe walk away. Alafu wakati sasa roho umetulia chini, now it's when you mnaweza rudi pamoja na muongee.
All right, so that's what you guys had to say, and now I have to ask both of you, Grace and Ernest, how do you handle conflict in your relationship? Because the advice you've given us so far is so wise, and poised, and so graceful.
Yeah, we are human, so I think maybe I'll start by sharing a conflict that my wife and I had. So when we were newly married, we came from our honeymoon. And my father-in-law called us and told us, got the envelope and found out, oh my goodness, it was 40,000 shillings. We're like, woohoo, good money, you know? And as we're going back home, I started telling my wife, good, fantastic. So what we can do, we can use part of the money to pay rent. And then after that, we can, you know, buy a few things in the house. You know, I want to stock up the fridge. So that's another topic for another day. But there are 4 views of money. I view money as security. All right? She views money. Next, this is an opportunity to do some shopping, change our wardrobes, you know, buy married clothes. I'm like, what do you mean married clothes? You know, so we need to look new. We're newly married, and we couldn't agree. We literally couldn't agree. So what we did, we got home and we split the money. I gave her 20K. I took 20K. Told her, you go do what you want with your money. I'll do what I want with my money. And so she went to Toy Market and she got clothes.
That
bales
must
of
have
clothes.
been, yeah.
She went to Mr. Price, went to what? She got clothes. As security, I'm thinking about the future. So I went, you know, stocked up the fridge, bought like 3 packets of rice, bought meat, you know, stocked the fridge. But I can see we've got some 5K left. Could you like help me with it? And I'm like, That's when it blew up. And I kept in her, you don't know how to spend money, you're so irresponsible, you think money grows on trees. And you see, that's how I grew up. I grew up when being told, you know, money, you know, life, you only live once, you know, so spend, give, you know. So we clashed on account of that. And we couldn't agree. We fought, our neighbors could hear us shouting at each other, we didn't care. And we actually went to sleep just, you know, not being able to talk to one another. We had to wake up the next morning, and being the head of the house, I had to, you know, I felt guilty. I felt like, oh my goodness, is this how I'm leading my family? And I had to apologize for raising my voice and saying all those mean things to her. And just to understand where she came from really helped. Understanding brings tolerance, you know? And that understanding just made me calm down and say, hey, you know what, by the way, I'm kind of stingy, you know? I need to relax a bit concerning my money. And she realized, hey, you know, I'm kind of a bit wild. I need to, you know, save a bit more for a rainy day. So yes, we do have fights. That's one. And your fights can come because you've got dissimilar values,
Yeah.
not just on the macro level, but also on the micro level. You don't agree to the detail on what to do when it comes to important aspects of your marriage. Money could be one of them.
A lot to give
Yeah.
us. When we come back, I'll ask you, Grace, how do you resolve conflict in your marriage, and how does it work for you? You've got to take a break. We'll be
Changes in programming.
You are my 10 over 10 girl.
Babe, tuende, yani namaliza almost 1 hour before.
Pathfinder, the show that puts you the BBC.
Lit 360. Mwinga business tinga giri jali makali mapinga.
You can never really appreciate art unless you know the process behind it.
The Lit 360 moves to Wednesday at 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Accountability to the Fourth Estate.
When you got involved with me,
Minda, you hired.
What a coincidence.
Wewe unanifuata?
Are you sure? Ni wewe ama ni mimi nakufuata?
Mr. Mayweather Odhiambo.
You are under arrest.
What? Denarius, son of my mother. Denarius.
With Lipa na M-Pesa, you get more. Every 100 shillings spent on Lipa na M-Pesa earns you an entry into the draw. Do more with Lipa na M-Pesa.
It's 100 bob to there.
It's my first time in sauce. We called. He was not picking up the calls.
Nationally in KCP examinations for
Welcome back, ladies and gents. We've been talking to Grace and Ernest, who are experts in relationships. Therapists, psychologists too, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, yes. So I wasn't too far
similar.
off. Yeah, similar. Before the break, we were talking about what went down between you and your wife.
Right.
And Grace, I've got to ask you, how do you resolve conflict? And I'm sure we'll even get into what you've learned so far.
Yes.
But how do you resolve conflict?
Now, I'm going to talk about it from a personal deal.
Okay.
So I am more of the avoider. We'll feel attacked. And so what I do, because I'm the one who feel this, what I do, I have to learn how to communicate with him, how I experience him, and I have also to communicate with myself how I'm experiencing and what I should do. So that I don't avoid conflict and I don't shut down. What I normally do myself, because I'm the one who normally do is that I know myself first of all. So I know that I'm an avoider. So what I do is I sit down. I will not ruminate on it, but I will process it in my mind. What am I feeling? I'm feeling attacked. And I'm feeling some type of rejection. And I know myself enough to know if I feel attacked, it will off. So what I do is I do that work within my head, and then I will come back to him and I say, you know, the other day we were talking about whatever, and we will talk about that. The other thing that I do, there are some things that can't wait. And so I know, so I'm very much aware of myself, right? At him, or I'm going to shut down. So what I'm hearing you say is, and I engage him now. I show interest in him, and I stop focusing on my feelings.
Right.
You see?
Right.
So first of all, I have acknowledged my level. That will make him come after me, and it will create something negative between us. So I have learned that I focus more on him. So what you're saying to me is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he will say yes. And then I will let him talk some more. And then I will clarify. Maybe there is a question I have. I get deeper to understand where he's coming from. And now I have avoided dealing with or acting on my emotions.
Right, because that's a story you're telling yourself in your head.
Yes.
This is him attacking me. But instead you...
Dr. Gary Smalley's book, The DNA of Relationships, he says, just like Grace has said, we've got 2 default ways of dealing with conflict. We either run or we attack, all right? And he says neither of, and by studying conflict is to look at the situation intently and ask questions. So he says, you had a fight with your significant other and you're angry. You must ask yourself, why am I angry?
Yes. Right.
And you'll find that deep within yourself, there are certain fears that you have. So I'm angry because, and the answer often starts with I felt.
Yeah.
I'm angry because I felt disrespected, I felt invalidated, I felt embarrassed. So, and then you must come to your partner, swallow your pride and tell them exactly how you felt. Because at times you're afraid to say how you feel because you're saying, I will look petty. Or at times our partner will be like, how can you be angry about that? You know? So you have to say how you feel, and you need to be a good student of your spouse. He normally feels like this, so that you understand. He normally feels invalidated when they bring this. He normally feels disconnected when they feel this. And he says, if you understand your partner's fear buttons, you'll understand their needs. Because a person who feels disrespected wants respect. A person who feels invalidated wants to be honored, wants to be recognized. And then what you do is that you work your conversation in such a way that you still get the point across without pressing those fear buttons.
Exactly.
All right. However, as the person with the fear buttons, you can't keep saying my partner must know my fear buttons. Coming through feared by 4 people in the same way, then I am the common denominator in those 4 ways. Then perhaps maybe I'm too sensitive. Perhaps. So there are also things that I need to work on, and perhaps from your upbringing, from all that. So you must be a good student of your spouse, study conflict, and then address it almost surgically until you get to the bottom of it.
And I guess at this point, if you're in a relationship...
And what Ernest is saying, I also have to be a safe space for my spouse.
Right.
So when you talk about respect, if I feel disrespected, then that means that I, who is triggering those buttons of disrespect, I need to be able to change the way that I speak to you. I don't need to character assassinate you, like now what you say to your wife.
I'm saying, Sharon, you came late. Wait, you are more likely to respond to the latter with grace. If I say you're a late comer,
parenting too.
Because you ate your food, or no. I always think about that because
That's
that we
labeling,
say, but we need to label behavior, not people.
Right. Well, first of all, to avoid conflict altogether.
It's not even healthy.
Okay.
Conflict is relationships. It's unresolved conflict.
Yes.
So conflict, what destroys
it's growth. Because if I felt better, and it's an opportunity for my partner also deal with the conflict. But if we avoid, and stonewalling is one of the words that they use, is the avoidance. So for instance, and he is not, eye contact is not there, there is no feedback, and he just waits for her to finish. Or they pick up the paper and they start. They didn't give any feedback at all, and they didn't do the active listening that we need to, and also the attending. You know, we talk about showing interest, inviting. When he says yes, so I know he's listening. He's engaged with me. To our couples, because most of us, we never saw our parents really engaging, except when they were angry.
Oh, that's a good one. So what are some healthy tools to employ?
You never. You always. What absolutes do is that they give no room for the negative comments with positive comments. People go through life and they hear so many horrible things. And to just say something good that your partner has done really, really helps deal with the conflict.
Is this during the conflict or even outside of the conflict?
Even outside.
In fact, if you do it outside, fantastic. You know? But even during the conflict, and I think you'll be able to do it in the conflict when you've practiced it outside.
So for instance, so how do you
beforehand, telling her the good compliments about her, I'll see some good in that. I'll be able to see, hey, you know what? I like that you don't hold on to money. You know, I like that you're expressive. However, we need to regulate this. All right.
So that's the thing.
Compliment. Then the criticism of the.
So for instance, but you know what? Maybe you could help me also learn how to enjoy things.
Perfect.
Exactly.
And she would say, you know, Ernest, you know, I like that you save money. I like that you think about a rainy day. And my goodness, where would we be if we don't? But I feel like you can't hoard money. You can't. You're loving it. You're holding. You know, but I would also love to learn how to just manage my own person. You know, good sandwich. Have it.
We never. And you know, my wife actually stocked up for their clothes.
Yeah.
Just like he stocked
Yes,
up.
public praise but private criticism.
Yes.
Say the good things about your partner in the hearing of others. Say the negative things about them to them.
Yes.
To them. It really helps. And I think also asking for feedback. I remember I got to a point to ask my wife, you keep saying I constantly interrupt you when you're speaking, I don't give you a chance to speak. How am I doing? And she told me, well, you grow.
How am I doing?
Because you do something about
it. It shows that you care.
Yes, definitely.
That you were listening.
Definitely.
And I
tell couples to do this also. One of the skills that, now we talked about constant complimenting, but also we talk about what you just did right now. That's what I normally say you do when you interrupt me. And so that they can see it within a conversation. You're not saying it outside. You can also, the way that it is given is very important, because when we ask, we say things. I like the word you used earlier, observe. So I have observed that when this happens, this is the way you react. And that way is better than, why do you always do that? Because you put me on defense
always.
now.
Yes, always.
Yeah. You always
Absolute dates.
Yeah.
Wow. I think we should have a part 2. This feels unresolved.
Definitely.
And we don't want anything unresolved.
No, we don't.
Like there's lots more that we could have gotten into.
Yes.
But thank you so much. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having us.
So Ernest, where can people get this book?
So you can get it on my website, penstrokes.co.ke, and you can click on the book. The image is right there, penstrokes.co.ke. Basics, get it. And if you're within the CBD of Nairobi, delivery is free. And if you're outside Nairobi, delivery can be arranged.
All right.
Yeah.
And I think I heard you mention that there's a book that might feel like I've just had a free therapy session. I feel like we've all had a free therapy session. Anything that we can learn that will help us pick the right partners and be able to resolve conflicts is welcome. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this show as much as I did. Let me tell you, I took notes. I don't remember the last time I was taking notes like I was in a classroom. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day too, and the rest of your week. Good luck if you how to approach any other conflict that you've got in your life. Because these tips are good, not just for relationships, for even friendships, your boss, things like that too, right? Alrighty, so thank you for watching. We'll be back here tomorrow at 8 a.m. sharp. And thank you to Parkin by Radisson. Bye, everybody.
Be part of over 40,000 students pursuing and nurturing their career at Moi University. Enroll now. Moi University, the foundation of knowledge.
I hope hujakuja hapa kuturingia hiyo nyumba yako ya kijusuru penye unakotanga takataka.
Point of correction. Hiyo nyumba ni release.
Niko na mradi mwingine nataka kushughulikia. Sasa wewe unadai kwa mangapi hapa?
Mimi nafai kuuliza unadai mangapi?
Ukiingia hapa kwa hii gate, huko umeona pale pameandikwa na chokora salau.
Ai, serious ya witi. Kama walikuwa wameandika hivyo, na wewe ulikupaliwa acha hapa ndani.
This Jacob, unajua bwana kameenda tunaweza ongea.
Do I know you? Ndabishana na ile siku tawaga. Afadhali mimi nafaa kuoga mwili peke yake na niko sawa. Wewe unafaa kuoga mwili na akili na bado utafuta pesa.
Nikishika chakula yangu mnanawa mkono kwanza.
I have to turn myself in. You're not going to do anything.
I needed to see Marcelo, to speak with him without his knowing that it was me. So what did you find?
And why I abandoned you.
With Lipa na M-Pesa, you get more. Every 100 shillings spent on Lipa na M-Pesa earns you an entry into the...
Babe.
Materiality Movie M.
Fact Finder from the BBC.
Lit 360 moves to Wednesday at 10 p.m. Wednesday at 10 p.m.
I have never known of any
state.
NTV, turning on your world. end.
Hi, I hope you've had an amazing week. Welcome to the premiere of the show Unscripted with me, Grace Simpson. Here is where we share your story as openly dreaded word, but very common in our generation. So today we have a sit down with two gentlemen
and his photography, who believes that every one of us has a story platform through which people share stories. Amani Moranga, a managing director and founder and motivational speaker with a podcast he calls Living Truthfully, which not only welcomes us into his home, but they both open up their hearts.
I loved her. That is something that I don't ever deny. I don't ever. It was a type of love that made me afraid to lose her. And so I felt that
Singh, who was also the mother of my child, had no choice. And so I did the honorable.
You know, in this generations in the past, guys, you're being as honest and raw. Achievements and other things, but other issues?
When Uruguay won the first World Cup.
Stop.
And what surprised marriage. And so I mean, it didn't parents. And so I went through a lot of pain. I went through depression. Of just last year, I had experiences. And in one of those experiences, I got to really face is a function of having nothing to hide, you know? And so
nothing to hide is a very empowering feeling in our space on both ends. So it's just that sense of freedom.
We figure it out. Yeah. You could break
reasons.
It's death. And whether you have children, whether you don't, whether you have investors, to acknowledge that there is a death of dreams, a death of hope. So recognizing that hope is now just gone.
Torn apart. Yeah. It's not. At least I knew it was over. And even when I was leaving, I thought it was over then. But it wasn't, because I felt like it was over a year later. Yeah. And I felt like it was over when, we finally were, filing divorce papers. Like you have several times it's over.
Yes.
And when you finally get your decree from the so I don't know when I knew it was over, and I guess I'm still going through an over process. So, yeah.
Mine was a similar thing. There's no defined point where I'd say this is why, yes, definitively it was done. Well, there is one. However, even before then, it was a 6-month, actually a 3-month process before I decided to file, and a 6-month process before I decided to actually leave and serve the papers. So it was there were very many. It's an incredible journey. As you said, it was over April, over was June. Then now there is a process of the court hearings themselves where you have to again confront what you're doing and dealing with. So it's this entire extrapolated process that doesn't have a defined...
I like that you brought up, you go through the what if. Mm-hmm. Should I wait? Should I stay? And of course, I'm sure you consult, whether it's fellow men or... How did your family... How did those outside the situation take this, and how do they advise you in this process?
One of the things that I've come to appreciate, and one of the things that I appreciated a lot in that entire period of time was... One, I appreciated my family because I'm saying that I want to get a divorce, but it's okay. So what's the process? If you've been people that I talked to at the time, there was a feeling of
it's not friends. This is family.
This is family.
Wow.
Because we put if you're breaking a marriage, I heard this from someone was you're bringing shame. Both my mom and my dad immediately very church. That's a mixed bag. Oh, that's a mixed bag of people that I interacted with. I hold, and this I don't pretend about. Fine, it's fine. Fundamentally, then beyond that, we can now discuss the morality and against the vast majority of the people that I had around me from church at that point. Opened their homes and their too will be there if you need help with this and that. We're here.
Coming from, both sides of the story, and I went through that process where I case for everyone when some situations happen in your life. So I need to know.
Went into a lot of, I abused alcohol a lot. I had been through a depressive phase. A glass, not too dissimilar from one of the ones in your kitchen over here. It was, I'm about to leave the house. I look at that moment of clarity. Then gym trainer, a gentleman called Don, and told.
On that powerful note, let's take a short break. We'll be right back as we continue unpacking
SIM card today and enjoy Tusonge Mbele bundles at affordable prices.
Continent and internationally.
And provides the best Multhic skincare.
I felt the best. The office was shifted from time in Mombasa. I don't know anywhere. Like, Luke was not picking up the calls.
You're going to serve as my eyes. You'll keep an eye on Anna.
Oh, hey! Let him go! I said let me go!
Please don't do that to me, July, huh?
With Lipa na M-Pesa, you get more.
Every day, NTV News team moves you to the center of the action.
The security forces who took part in this operation.
Police are not taking anything to chance.
And avoid.
Telling the story of Kenya.
The growing importance of border in Mandera.
Matatus will be on strike.
And beyond.
The politics in United.
For your investment decision.
It's time to say goodbye to this note and karibu to this note.
In order for the manufacturing sector to be elevated from the ground.
Despite the government's promise to create at least 1.3 million jobs.
Moves you fast past the planes and trucks to bring you the triumphs and joys of our great men and women.
To these young mothers.
NTV News. News that moves you.
Changes in programming.
You are my 10 over 10 guy.
Babe, 200.
Bahati Reality moves to Monday at 10 p.m.
Fact Finder, the show that puts you in the know.
The BBC Fact Finder.
You can never really appreciate art unless you know the process behind it.
This is going to be a long conversation.
And Press Pass moves to Thursday at 10 p.m.
I have never known of any single time.
Yay! Welcome to the family.
Why are you so obsessed with...
Wewe unanifuata?
Are you sure? Ni wewe ama ni mimi nakufuata?
Mr. Mayweather.
With Lipa na M-Pesa, you get more.
Health is where we spend quite a lot of our money. About 30% of our entire. I'm hopeful before the end of this year, it will be ready to be operationalized.
Welcome back. Today we're discussing divorce. We're trying to... So Marcus, you're telling us about your coping mechanism.
That I was quickly falling into. Started working out. Had an amazing trainer who was also incidentally, I think, part of my therapy as well, because he's an amazing listener as well. So I went for weekly therapy sessions as well for a while, just to unpack what I was feeling. So on one end, it's the physical, raw, I did all this happen.
I see.
But what helped for me was at least there wasn't all that much to separate, because we didn't have...
Say that again.
How did you both prepare them before?
We tried to have the conversation with them and, tell them, mommy and daddy, have some, disagreements, and, so for now, daddy will be staying somewhere else, and,
Daddy, they see Daddy every day.
Yeah.
And now you're saying we won't see him.
And they said over and over again, come back home. And nothing broke my heart as much as that. In May, and so in that term, in that school term, they're very brilliant children. My children have their mother's brain, which is a blessing because that's what I prayed for. The teachers could tell something was wrong. And going to school and hearing how they had withdrawn, my son had just, gone into a cocoon. I mean, it broke me. Because what it's saying is that your decisions, your choices are messing up their lives. Yeah?
Did you think twice in that moment for maybe we should try and work this out?
So I was very clear that, doing it for the unit around me, so I didn't know what it looked like. And so for me, I was slipping into this space without knowing my business. I have 1 out of 12 employees left. And the guy used to, by that time this was my office before I became home. And so he'd come every day. This guy was faithful. He's like, I don't care if there's a salary or not, I'm not leaving this guy by himself. So he'd come every day. And one day I told the guy, I've lost my mojo. That's what it felt like to me. I've lost my mojo, so I don't know. And then I thought, okay, I might need to talk to someone. And since we had sent our kids to a therapist,
Good job.
because we realized that they needed to process this, and we were ill-equipped, so we had sent them to a therapist. I went and saw the same therapist because I felt like she had at least some context and some history. Yeah. One of my pastors actually reached out to me and asked me, why are you not in church? And I'm like, but you know my story and I don't want to be in church. She said, come. Come, sit at the corner, do nothing. Also, I didn't want to have to, I serve in church and I didn't want to have to do things and pretend that everything was okay. And she told me, come sit at the corner, don't stand if you don't want to, just be in a place you hear the right things. And I enjoyed the social space because there was people I knew. They didn't know what was going on in my world, but I was happy to just have a laugh, crack a joke, like why was Barry White black? Ha ha ha. Anyway, so so that sort of got me. I found myself now waking up to go to church on Sunday, and it was very therapeutic for me. And I found a very accepting community, and even when people knew that I was divorced or I was going through a separation, what I got from them was not judgment. Well, there was a little judgment, but I think it's that thing of understanding, but why, what could you have done differently? And I don't blame them, My family was, I think, mostly supportive and disappointed, but for the most part, I got support from my family. And so,
I like that you brought up and mentioned judgment. There's something you said in the podcast. Men don't have the right to feel pain. So for me, for some reason, that feedback that you got broke me. Because does that mean as society, have we blamed the men when marriages fail? Is that what you feel?
Oh, yes.
I would say yes. I would actually, yeah.
No, without fear of favor.
Really?
Yeah.
There's no equal balance.
There's no, okay, let's hear your point of view, or does not exist.
Really?
It doesn't, and listen, 100% of the times that marriages fail, and I can say this with confidence, both parties have a part to play.
Yes.
Okay? Now, you may have one
if you're more than one person.
Yeah, you may have one person. You may have one person who is a catalyst, who is an instigator, or who starts the process of the end by something that they do that could be horribly wrong, like I did.
Are you guys willing to say what happened?
There was infidelity in my marriage, and I was the villain, like I said earlier. So I was the catalyst. But what I like about the relationship that I have now with my ex-wife is, she also owned her part, and whereas I carried the weight of it, she did carry her weight, and so now we are able to co-parent. We have well. We don't have that awkwardness. I think she's a really good human being, and
there's respect and appreciation.
Yes, and I never felt like from her. In fact, I never felt like she had a problem with me feeling pain. But when we started talking about this on the podcast, I received a lot of just scary feedback from women who were like literally felt like we didn't have the right to talk about pain because we are the cause of the pain. Now the truth is most men don't understand the emotions that they're going through, and they don't know how to name those emotions. So you know you're feeling bad, but you don't know whether that bad is sad, whether that bad is angry, whether that bad is fear, what that bad is, you know? And so often then we don't show this emotion because we don't understand it, or we don't know what to do with it.
I feel like that's also in part because we don't give space for us to process out loud. You get what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah. That
because you're a sissy if you process it out
exactly.
loud. Yeah.
So among men you don't have that space.
Among not just men, anyone, you don't have space to say, I feel bad, but I don't know what bad means. How on earth do you not know what bad means? Why are you, okay, are you feeling angry? You put a name to it and then come back to it. Or once you do put a name to it, then it's, you'll be fine, you're a man.
And let me say this, Grace. We need help as men, first to name our emotions. I'm glad I've gone through processes that have helped me understand some of the emotions that I feel. But we need permission.
Permission is the word.
We need permission to feel what we feel and to remember that our feelings are legitimate. Whether you think they are warranted or not, they are legitimate.
If there's anything you wish you had done differently, is there?
No, not for me. I believe in owning my decisions. Yes. Every single decision that I have made has either had a benefit or a lesson. Sometimes both. My decision to get married, regardless of what the motivation was my decision. My decision to, even whether it's conflict resolution within a marriage, in every single point in time, every single decision that I made during that path was my decision. Some of them contributed to the breakdown of the marriage. My decision. To file divorce, my decision. To end it, my decision. I own every single step of it. And because I own every single step of it, I either take the lesson or I take the benefit that's come with it. So that allows me to fully go back and replay and understand this meant this caused this did this. And therefore in future, don't do, improve on, do this. So at every single point in time, I owned my decision. And that's, yes.
An informed place.
Yes.
That's powerful, Lucas.
I really like the conversation on owning your choices because that's how, that's the first step to moving forward. I went through this process of asking myself 3 questions. I talk about this in the podcast. What are the things that I'm grateful for through this process? What are the things that I can change? Things that didn't go right that I can change? And what are the things that I cannot change? And by accepting the things that I cannot change, then I'm able to release that energy
and
focus on what I can change. So when I look back, I mean, I wish I'd made a little different decision when I was getting married. I think, I should have spent a bit more time in making that decision. I feel like I should have done the same when I was leaving as well. Maybe I could have spent a bit more time in making that decision. But now those are things I cannot change. I'm so fortunate. I hear so much drama from other people. I don't have any of that, And she's a wonderful mom, and so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my friends, for my church, and so you know, when I look back, I have a lot to be grateful for as well.
We're still unpacking divorce. This is a heavy conversation, so we need to take a short break. We'll be right back in a few minutes. Keep it here.
The office was shifted from here. It's now in Shimanzi. We were told if we use the tuk-tuk, it's 100 bob to there. It's my first time in Mombasa. I don't know anywhere. Like, look, I don't know anything about Mombasa.
Now, the main source. We called. He was not picking up the calls.
I hope hujakuja hapa kuturingia hiyo nyumba yako ya kijusuru penye unakotanga takataka.
Point of correction. Hiyo nyumba ni release.
Niko na mradi mwingine nataka kushughulikia. Sasa wewe unadai ni kwa mangapi hapa?
Mimi unafaa kuuliza unadai mangapi?
Ukiingia hapa kwa hii gate, huko umeona pale pameandikwa na chokora salau.
Ai, serious ya witi. Kama walikuwa wameandika hivyo, na wewe ulikupaliwa acha hapa ndani.
Jakwambia unajua nikirota alikuwa na baba wawili.
What about Crotas? Na Crotas je?
Nimekukanya kumuita mbebu. Katafuta mashokora wenzako huko waita mbebu. Crotas. Tusaka kameenda tunaweza ongea.
Do I know you? Ndabishana na ile siku tawaga. Afadhali mimi nafaa kuoga mwili peke yake na niko sawa. Wewe unafaa kuoga mwili na akili na bado